Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's another day in the world of Black Push Talk, and welcome. I'm James Henderson, and today
and I'm Bree Kelly.
Thank you. Special guest with me today, and so there's been a few things that have been on the mind of people as of late in dealing with the issues and stuff that we have to deal with, and particularly, for lack of a better phrase, banking while black.
Yes, we have two great topics today. And it's one, right?
Yeah.
Just banking while black, but we have two different scenarios. So the first one, I'm pretty sure everybody is familiar. Ryan Coogler, who is the director of Black Panther. He also has done Fruitvale Station, Creed. He's an amazing director. One and two. Well, yeah. The second one, his friend kind of took over that. He couldn't get into it. The second one, I'm a huge Ryan Coogler. I love Ryan Coogler. He's so amazing. Like Black Panther is just. Anyways, so we all know this story. At least some of us are familiar with it. So Ryan Coogler, he was in Atlanta, currently shooting the second Wakanda, or Black Panther, and he was trying to deposit $10,000 or withdraw $10,000. And during that time, the teller assumed that he was a bank robber. He supposedly fit the description of a bank robber. He wrote on a note to be discreet. And there's a couple things. I mean, he had a hat, he had a mask. Obviously, we're in COVID times, yeah. And he is a celebrity, so he was discreet. So the cop did detain his friends, and they did detain him. And Bank of America has come out with an apology to the director, Ryan Coogler, after he was assumed to be a bank robber and briefly handcuffed by the police while trying to withdraw money from a bank in Atlanta. So that was last week. That was on the 9th that happened, and they recently came out with an apology.
Yeah, but you don't have to apologize if your tellers are doing things the way they're supposed to be doing now. Mm-hmm. How do you make the assumption? Is it because he wrote the note to be discreet, but he didn't ask for anything outside of the fact that he might have filled out a withdrawal slip, which gives you my account number, my name, and the amount that I need to withdraw. So how do you go from that to making the assumption that he's robbing the bank when clearly he's only asking for a specific amount? Now, answer that for me. I mean, I don't get it. Yeah. And to make that kind of assumption could be a death penalty for someone.
Yes, it could have been worse.
Yeah, it could have been a lot worse because the police could have came in with guns blazing.
Exactly.
And he may not have. He may not have been given the opportunity to. To defend himself or speak on behalf of his own self. Now, I understand he dealt with it very calmly. Yeah. But I mean, the simple fact that he even had to deal with that kind of situation. Now, name recognition doesn't, it don't really, it doesn't move the needle for me. So maybe the teller was that same type of person where, okay, all right, I don't recognize the name, let's just move on. And she just kind of went and made it. But we don't know if it was race-based.
Yeah, I do agree. And I think this just raises a different topic, almost as like snap judgment. I think I wouldn't say people are racist, but we are inherently prejudiced sometimes. I mean, it's just naturally, especially someone that is a Caucasian. So I think this kind of just, to me, I like this topic because it just raises concerns. Like, it's not that they weren't doing their job, but at the same time, he would have been treated differently if he wasn't, black. And they probably would have asked him more details. Hey, can I get a second form of ID? Right. Hey, let me give you a couple months. Let me research before I actually get the police involved. Let me actually do the due diligence and make sure,
Okay. So you may mention the second form of ID. That kind of leads into the next direction that the next story I wanted to bring up. Do we have a video? The video for the Wells Fargo? No? Okay. Well, it's just, I wanted to, there was a story, and it was actually a video that I found on YouTube as I was doing a little research on this topic, where the young man up in Nova Scotia, not Nova Scotia, but up in like the Wisconsin area, and U.S. Bank denied that he went to make a deposit, a $900 check, and he went to go make a deposit, and he just finished his work shift, was going to make a deposit, and they detained him. And the police were called in, and the branch manager who was telling him no, you can't, and was trying to explain to him whatever, claimed to the police that he had actually made a phone call to the company that the check was written from, and but the video shows that the banker didn't actually make the call till the police showed up after he was in handcuffs.
Wow.
So I mean, again, what we're seeing is I'm starting to see a trend of banking issues. People of color having issues when they go to the bank. So there's a story here, and we'll get to it. Maybe we'll come back to this topic another time. But again, in Sugarland, Texas, near Houston, a female doctor, had gone to Miss Mitchell Stewart, had gone to J.P. Morgan Bank to deposit a $16,000 check. And she's a doctor, but she was accused that the bank didn't want to open up the account for her because they basically had accused her that she was attempting to commit fraud.
You said which bank was this again?
Chase.
Chase?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I like Chase.
Yeah, I know. But see, here's the thing that they said. Let me see, and I'm going to skip down here a little bit. But the discrimination she faced is a pattern and practice when it comes to black people engaging with financial institutions in this country. Mitchell Stewart's attorney, Justin Moore, said in a statement to the Washington Post, for a black female physician to be treated in this way by Chase is a devastating reminder that no matter how hard we try and how far we climb, major corporations in this country still view us as nothing. And I mean, that says a lot when it comes to that kind of statement. That sentiment is kind of, a lot of people of color feel that way. So what happens when we start pulling our money out of these banks? What kind of impact will it make if we founded our own black banks, or went into dealt with black banks that are already in existence and putting our monies into those banks? We can kind of start fixing, some of these issues by taking our divesting our money out of the system in that manner, and going another direction with it. Yeah, that's an option that, and because I chase, a bank with Chase Bank, maybe I need to consider that myself after reading the article and everything. And these are some of the things that we can do. Now, I'm just one person with a few bucks, but I mean, if I had a $50,000 bank account, $150,000, $1 million account, and I started divesting out of Chase Bank, U.S. Bank, Wells Fargo, Bank of America. These are practices that are, It seems random. Do we know what bank Klugler was at?
Oh yeah, Bank of America.
Bank of America.
Yes, which
this
I
is
don't
Chase
even
Bank. We know that the practice of redlining is taking place with Wells Fargo, U.S. Bank for the young man up north that I was just mentioning. So we know it's being practiced. The behavior of the employees of these banking institutions are putting their personal spin on what they think. And I get it. You there's certain rules and practices that they're taught to go by and everything, but it seems to me like those practices are double-edged, because yes, I can use my personal what I see, what's taking place at hand personally, and make a judgment call at that point. But what I do I treat everybody the same way when I make those judgment calls, or am I discriminating against people of color while I'm making those judgment calls? Because you being a black man or black woman, a male or female of color, that you couldn't possibly be making this kind of money. Well, the truth of the matter is, people are making that kind of money. They are, $16,000 in a check for a doctor isn't, right? It's not a $700 check. Where people. My point is that we have to. The banking industry has to rethink how they choose to deal and handle people of color and their monies, because at the end of the day, once divestment starts to take place and the reinvestments are being done with banking institutions who are going to treat us fairly, then the current banking institutions will start feeling that pinch. Yeah,
I agree. Like, I think, and this is with almost everything. Like, we need to have certain things set in place for us and people of color. Like, when we first opened up banks, they didn't have to consider, being prejudged, being prejudiced, like, different elements when you see someone that supposedly fits the description of someone that's a robber, but they're just black. And it's time that these corporations and these companies get together and they consider everything, because this is embarrassing for Bank of America. I mean, she felt as if she was doing her job, which, I understand. I'm always looking at the nuance of things, but at the same time, she went, she immediately thought that he was a threat. She immediately reported it to her manager. They immediately got the police involved. And like you said, it could have been much worse. So we have to consider all of that, because for him, he may have been so scared. This may have been like because he's a black man. So at the end of the day, it's not only humiliating for the company, but it's also can leave traumatic scars for the person. So I just think corporations, they need to all get together and come up with an ethical plan as far as like responding to people of color and making sure that they don't feel prejudged. Because at the end of the day, if we took our money out, they would fall down. So, and as far as like black banks, I think that that's great. I would love I can't wait for us to expand with that. I know of a few black banks. I think like black people, more than money, we need capital, and we need to be able to have our own, so we can, trust in each other, so these situations don't happen.
There's I'm looking, as I look down here, and I see that in November of 2017, a black woman in Fort Lauderdale said a Wells Fargo branch employee accused her of forgery and called the police when she tried to deposit a check of $140. Now, forging, so the lady actually ended up suing for Wells Fargo for racial discrimination 8 months after that. But, and the bank reached a settlement confidentially. There was another case in Detroit where a discrimination lawsuit where his former employer was accused of fraud when he tried to deposit a settlement check. So I mean, these are the first things these people are doing, seem to be doing, is let's just throw something at them, throw a label on them, accuse them for whatever, fraud or forgery and whatnot, and see if it'll stick. But the problem is, your employer, as a banking institution, ends up with egg on their face when they find out that these people are legitimate people doing legitimate business transactions and are being mistreated in this manner by their employees. And behind the wording of by saying that I was only doing my job. But what gave you the first impression that it was a forgery to begin with? Are these folks doing their due diligence and making the phone call, taking a check, and it has the bank number and routing number, the account number and routing number on the bottom of the check. So you can always check to see where it came from and if it's fraudulent. You can always call the business who issued the check to see if it's fraudulent. So to make that assumption, so this is just another way that to get people of color into of harassing, and it seems some of us would think that it's just blatant discrimination. Some people will call it microaggressions and whatnot. So these are the kind of things that, as people of color, have to deal with on a daily basis. I'm gonna tell you now that some people want to it's not that bad. Well, you know what? Try walking in our shoes.
Yeah, give everyone the same grace is what I will leave off saying. Give everybody the same grace, and everything will be fine. And really just acknowledging that, like I said, we are inherently, or Caucasians are usually inherently prejudiced, and it's not anyone's fault. Just like we are inherently, we have issues that we dealt with from our ancestors that we're still trying to break, mental chains that we're still trying to break. So acknowledging it and doing the work to break it, and saying, okay, when I look at this person, my mind instantly thinks fear. Why? Let me figure out, why am I scared when I instantly see someone? Do the work. Like, it's 2022. Do the work, because do the work. Like, we have no excuses. We got Google, we got books, we got everything. So do the work. Give people the same grace.
Especially in the banking industry. None of this stuff should be taking place when you have every means and option at hand to be able to double check, triple check to see if it's fake, if it's fraudulent. But just to accuse someone and to call the authorities and law enforcement on them because of what you think, when you actually haven't done the work. Exactly. And you've done your due diligence. So, I mean, it's unfortunate, but that these things are happening, but they are happening. And so, again, these are things that are taking place in our country. Just be careful what you do, how you go about doing it, folks. It's really important that you do your due diligence in doing your job, whether you are in the banking industry or you're working for a nonprofit organization, or do the research, protect yourself at all times, all costs, as best you can, particularly when you're out in the streets in public. Be very careful where you go, what you do, and what you say, folks, because any of that can be used against you at any time, because the cameras always seem to be rolling. So again, this has been Push Talk. I'm James, and with Brianna, and thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining us on this podcast.
Thank you guys.
And talking about black banking, and you'll be hearing from us soon, and we'll have some more wonderful topics to share with you all. But until then, have a wonderful, wonderful day. Enjoy your weekend, and God bless you.